Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TMV, sometimes live, sometimes not so live. My name is Sharzad, and I think you guys know these beautiful women, Kaylee, and who are you, Angel?
You know it, baby.
We have a new face to TMV Live, but not a new face to the Mom's View. Take it away, sister. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I have the lovely privilege of hosting the DIY challenge on the Mom's View with Kaylee.
I love it. It's so fun.
It is so fun. I also have a website, prettyprudent.com, and I've written a couple of books, Prudent Advice and My Prudent Advice, and my YouTube channel is @PrudentBaby.
Welcome, team. We have a nice little intimate group. We're going to be talking about some intense topics today. So, Jamie, I know you recently had kind of an interesting year. You found out that you were adopted.
I did.
So we have a video vlog of the first day that you found out. So we're actually going to show you guys that real quick. A little intense.
If I'm a person saying that she was my sister, I already have a sister. I have two sisters. A half-sister, and what I thought was my full biological sister. But yeah, this woman said she just wanted to get to know me and had gone through something called a search angel, and she had information about like the military base I was born on and my parents' names and my adoption certificate and my mother's maiden name, and it all was like a lot of information. I thought maybe it was a scam, but I couldn't figure out what the scam would be. Like I was Googling and like looking on Snopes for email adoption near my sister scams, but I guess they don't really exist. And she wasn't really asking for anything except to get to know me. And my internet was really spotty. I was still on the plane in Dulles, and when I was able to click on her Facebook page and see her pictures, my stomach just dropped because she looked just like me.
I just want to first of all say you are so brave for sharing that. And I'm sure that that's not an easy thing to do or find out. Can you take us back and walk us through where were you that day and what happened?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I would say that for me, it is kind of easy to talk. Like I like to talk, and so that it actually helped me to do that and to start keeping that video diary and all the feedback that I've gotten. So I'm okay with talking about it without getting too specific, you know, and interrupting anyone's privacy in my life. But so it was a crazy, crazy day. I had been in Africa, in South Africa, for almost 2 weeks on safari. It was like the most amazing trip. I jumped into gorges and like, you know, just did a million things. And then I was on a plane I was like on 3 planes about, I like went from Johannesburg to Dakar and Dakar to Washington, D.C. And it had been about 18 hours. And I hadn't checked my email the whole time because there was no internet on the plane. And when I did, I had a bajillion emails, you know, and lots of spam and stuff. And there was this one email it said personal information, so I just deleted it. But then something told me, like I just assumed that was spam, you know, and something told me to go into my trash on my phone and read that email again. And then I did, and you kind of saw what happened. But yeah, and I talk about it in the rest of that video. But what happened after that was I got off the plane and kind of just had like this weird, fluttery, like crazy feeling. And then, you know, I still had to fly to Los Angeles, and it was only 6 in the morning in Washington, D.C. And of course, I'm totally jet lagged. Like I have no idea what time it is, and I had to go through customs in D.C. You know, and so I went through customs, just like shaking and jittery the whole time, and talking to Jacinda, my partner at Pretty Prudent, on the phone. And then when I got through customs, I was like, this, you know, I had kind of denied it. Like I was like, this can't possibly be true, you know. But I was on, you know, in D.C. and my brother lives in the same time zone, and he is 13 years older than me. So I thought he might be awake. You know, it's like 6:30 in the morning at this time. So I called him, and he picked up the phone, and I loved my brother. We're really close. And he said, I told him about the email, and he said, oh, I don't know anything about that. Call your mom, call your dad. He said it like 4 times. And then he was like, okay, I gotta go. And that's weird, right? Like, you know, if one of yours, you called one of your siblings with that, they would be like, that's a crazy email to get, you know? Right. So I was like, something is up. And I just could not get myself on that 6-hour flight from DC to LA without like having an answer. So I called my mom. It's 3 in the morning.
So you're at the airport.
I'm at the airport, yeah. So I called my mom, and it's 3 in the morning in Los Angeles, like 3:30 in the morning. She lives in California. And she answered the phone, right? And she goes, oh, hold on, I'm on the other line.
No.
Okay, so
And I was like,
No,
Bruce
no.
my brother's calling her, you know, like giving her the heads up, right? And of course she hangs up on me because, I don't know, old people can't use call waiting.
Okay.
I love you, Mom. So then I waited for her to call me back, and I think she knew what I was going to ask her, but I was just like, I'm sorry I woke you up, and I got this email, and I was like, what is this all about? I'm like, she looks just like me. I mean, the first thing I had done when I got the email was I forwarded it to my mom, and I said, what's going on here? But of course she was asleep, and she just said, she said, okay, I don't want you to be mad, but yes, it's true.
Wow.
And then I just started to cry. I was crying, and then we just talked for a little while. And then I called my dad. My parents were divorced, so after I talked to my mom for a while, I called my dad even though I didn't want to wake him up. He's an obstetrician. He gets up in the middle of the night all the time, so I knew he would answer. I just didn't want my mom to call him while I was on the plane, so I called him, and he tried to deny it at first. He was like, it's not true, and I was like, Dad, I already know it's true,
Right.
And he was like, okay, well, I love you, we'll talk when we get home. And so then I just called my husband, hysterical, right? And then I just got on the plane home, and I was like that crazy person on the plane who's like crying for 6 straight hours, and the person next to you is like, what just happened?
What is wrong with this
Yeah.
child? Yeah.
But then I got home and just dealing with it. I talk about it in my vlogs. You can kind of see. I did one every day for the first few days. So
When did you find this out? How long
this
ago?
was in May, at the end of May,
this has been
like
Okay.
3 months ago. Yeah.
And you met your sister, your biological sister.
Yes, I did. So she was the one who had reached out to me, and I was, pissed at her. To be honest,
Yeah.
I was like, why? You just go through so many emotions, know.
Like, why now?
And I was like, why did you have to ruin my life like this?
Yeah,
This is
fantasy.
yeah. I was like, I mean, people say, oh, I can't imagine anything like that, but you can imagine it because it is exactly like if you just found out your parents were not your parents.
I had that happen. Yeah. I found out my father wasn't my father.
Oh, really?
You did?
Yes. That's why I said,
So you know that feeling.
I know that feeling. I do. But I found that out. I'm Inspector Gadget. So for me, I was going to ask you, did you have any inkling, looking at your relatives and saying, something doesn't fit?
Well, yes. I mean, I would say, my brother, my older brother, of course he knew about this. He's 13.
Right.
And he, oops.
That's all right.
We're gonna
It's all right. There you go.
Yeah.
So my brother knew about this, and he always felt terrible that I didn't know. He's also a biologist, so he thought it was scientifically wrong for me not to know. But it wasn't his place to tell me, and I'm of course not mad at him. But yeah, he told me that there were 3 times in my life that I straight up asked him, and he felt bad because he thought it was he had to straight out lie to me. And one time I was 8, and once I was 12, and then once when I was in my 20s. And I don't really even remember those things, but I think I always knew. But I think a lot of teenagers go through this period where they're just I can't be related to these people. We're so different, Now it seems really obvious because I look absolutely nothing like my family that raised me, and I look exactly like the people in my biological family. So it seems obvious now, but it was never about how I looked. It was what I did. There's these things that seem really obvious in retrospect, there's no pictures of my mom pregnant with me. There's no baby pictures of me.
When did they adopt you? How old were you?
3.5 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but one thing that's kind of interesting that people adopted people seem to think is really special is that my dad actually did deliver me. He's an obstetrician.
Oh, well, that is hot. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really special.
I had heard this story my whole life that, they're on the military base and there was no other doctor, and so my dad delivered me, and that I was breached, and it was a stormy night, and it was Friday the 13th, and I'd heard the story a million times. But I guess that is what happened, and then they took me home, and then my biological parents abandoned me at the hospital. So my parents decided to adopt me. Thank you for doing that, parents.
Yes.
But so for me, I'm starting 3 months later. I've been going to therapy, right? I'm starting to understand that is special. But for me, it really felt like a loss because in this story, my mom was there in that story, you know? And I'm sad to know my mom wasn't there, and I'm curious about what the first, like, 4 months of my life were like.
Right.
You know, there's questions, but I'm also, like, grateful and happy, and I never sit and think, what if these people had raised me and not the, like, these are my parents, this is my family. Like, when people ask me, oh, when you say dad, who are you talking about? I'm talking about my dad, like, you know? That's my dad. There's, you know, so.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that, again, I can't imagine, and I'm sure that's really hard, but I think it's great that you're vlogging about it. So I know a lot of people who have been through something similar can connect with you and just share in that journey. Like Angel.
Oh, see, I don't be sharing. Because I found out before everyone else did. See, I was the one that was. Oh yeah, I was swabbing people's mouths while they didn't even know. I was like, I don't believe you.
For real, you really did that?
For real.
How old are you?
Almost 30. So not that long ago.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. I was like, something ain't right.
So do you know your biological father?
We fell out. And then the guy who was on my birth certificate, he just passed away earlier this year. But we didn't have a good relationship either, though. So it went from bad to worse, people. So
well, I think that's something to be said too. I think, like, you know, when you're a little girl and you are, or at least with my little girl, you know, you read a Cinderella or whatever, princess fantasies and stuff, and you're like, oh, I wish I was from the land of fanciness, and you know, and for the most part, I think that when you're given up for adoption, it's not from people that are super awesome and live in a castle and like have to send you off somewhere. You know, it's usually it's a tough story, and I've heard the story from my biological father, I've heard it from my own father, from my mother, from my biological mother, like secondhand, and it's a different story every time someone tells it, and it's never a good story.
Right, it's never what you want it to be. I'm like, God dang it.
It's never like, you were just too amazing, and so we, you know, we were just too rich, we didn't know what to do.
You inherited millions of dollars. Well, we are gonna completely switch gears now.
Let's do it.
Our topic of the day is gays in Russia. And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to international news, but there was recently a law passed that the propagandizing of homosexuality to minors is illegal. First of all, that's really confusing. So basically what that means is if you are in Russia, you are not allowed to be gay. You are not allowed to hold hands with somebody of the same sex. You're not allowed to kiss. And if you are caught doing any of those things, you can be fined or imprisoned or beaten. And actually, people are getting attacked on the streets left and right when they're...
So just being gay is considered propagandizing?
Right. Yes. It's very ambiguously written, so it, you know, people can interpret it however they want and basically do whatever they want to gays when they see them on the street. And people have taken it upon themselves to just beat up gays and transgenders all over Russia, and it's terrible. It makes me sick to my stomach. And one reason that this is like even more controversial than normal is because the 2014 Winter Olympics are going to be in Russia, and people are talking about boycotting the Olympics and, you know, just what to do about this.
I mean, could you imagine? Think about if you were a gay athlete.
I know. Like, there's a
how could you, like, first of all, why would you want to go? I mean, you've been working your whole life.
I know.
And this is your, like, ultimate goal. And I know for athletes, there's a period of time in your life where you're at the prime of your sport.
Right.
And so waiting another 4 years might not be really an option. But you don't want to go support a place that thinks that you're horrible, but also a place where you could literally get hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's just dangerous.
Yes. There's a well-known American figure skater, Johnny Weir, who's like publicly said, and he's actually married to a Russian man and speaks Russian and loves Russia. Actually, there's a photo of him. He's like such the fabulous, like, gay figure skater that's like, my existence is going to bother Russians, you know, but he's been to Russia before this, he loves it. So he's saying that just, he's happy getting arrested there. He wants to, like, get arrested and show his solidarity with the LGBT community and just be a proud gay man.
I don't think he wants to.
I know.
I ain't been to Russia jail, honey. You might want to.
But so my question to you moms is, how do you guys talk to your kids about gays? And I know they're young, like your kid just turned 3. 4. Oh, sorry, 4.
That's all right.
How would you bring that up? How do you guys talk to your kids? How do you plan on talking to your kids about gays? And what are your...
I just have to answer that right away. I don't have to talk to my kid about it. Right. She's 5 years old, and it's a part of her life. I mean, it's not like you're old enough now to know that there are gay people. Like, she might be gay, who knows? You know, it's a part of her life. We have a lot of gay members of our family. Actually, my aunt, I just have to say a cute story. She is in her 70s, and my aunts have been together since before I was born, and they were just able to get married last year. Yay. I mean, amazing, right?
Yeah.
So this is not a question for my daughter of how I'm going to tell her about there being gay. What we talk about is there being injustice in the world, and there being human rights issues, and she's learning about that when it comes to privilege and prejudice, you know, in terms of skin color, disability, or being gay. And it's unfortunate that she even has to learn those lessons, but that's the conversation we would have, is about understanding and being compassionate for all different kinds of people.
Yeah. Right. Kaylee, what do you do when, have you ever had a conversation with Reilly or Gage?
I'm kind of the same way, especially since moving to California. I grew up in Utah, and I don't know anyone who is gay in my town.
Okay.
But I do have family members who are, but they moved away because, you know, it's a small town and people talk, and so it's easier to move away. But since moving out here to California, we have friends who are gay. You know, we know a lot of people who are gay, and it just seems normal. Right. It doesn't seem like a conversation we have to have, and I'm so grateful for that because I don't want it to be that way, and I don't want family members or people that I love to feel like they need to go away from us or, you know, not be around us. I want them to know that they're loved and, you know, like,
And in our, you know, my daughter just started kindergarten, but even in her preschool, I mean, there are children that have two moms or two dads or one mom, or, you know, so that's just part of the conversation that we have. Like, you have a mom and a dad, and we also have a book that talks about how babies are made that really just says, like, babies need, like, an egg and a sperm and a uterus. But it doesn't mean that they need, you know, and then they have parents, and some families are like this and some are like that, you know, that there's just all different kinds of families.
I have two aunts, that my mom's cousin, and she married a woman. They were together, they're still together. I mean, they were together for like 22 years before they got married in New Hampshire, and I was lucky enough to do both their makeup on their wedding day. So I did both these women, and they have 3 kids. And those kids are turning out so spectacular because they have 2 moms who are like super educated. I mean, like, how are you?
If you can get 2 moms, go for it. If you can get 2 of them.
Get them, because these kids, there's 3 of them. One set of twins and an older one, and they're just perfect. They're like what every child should be like, and it's because they have 2 moms.
I ran into a friend of mine who is gay at a restaurant yesterday, and he was like, I hadn't seen him in a while, and he was like, I'm so excited to tell you that we are trying to adopt. Like, we're on the list, we've got a few more, and I was like, that is great. I was like, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, like mine, and he said, I recently found out I was adopted, and I was like, do me a favor, you better tell that kid that they're adopted. And he was like, I think they'll figure it out.
I think if the public school system is still teaching biology, they'll figure it out. I mean, living in LA and being an actress and a singer, someone in the performance, everybody's gay. So I think I might have to explain what being straight is to my son before I have to explain.
How do you make everything funny, Angel?
I don't know. My brain doesn't work properly. But yeah, I don't think it's something, you know, that is going to have to be this huge, like, revelation of this is what this is.
I mean, a simple answer to your question is what I tell my daughter, because she's a little young for me to talk about like the actual specifics of like how babies are made. I mean, she gets like how a baby is made, but not like how it's made, and I'm not ready to tell her that. So I don't want to give her a definition of homosexuality that's based on just these like activities that happen in the bedroom. You know what I mean? So what I tell her is, like, some people grow up and they want to fall in love with a boy, and some people grow up and they want to fall in love with a girl. Like, some girls want to fall in love with girls, some boys want to fall in love with a boy, and whoever you want to fall in love with, that's up to you. You get to decide that for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we say.
I remember when I was a little girl, my parents actually talking to me about it.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't grow up knowing anyone that was gay. I didn't know what it was, and my parents did sit me down and they said, do you know what gay is? And I said, no. And they said, it's when a man loves another man or a girl loves another girl. And I remember just being like,
okay.
You know, it wasn't like, what?
That stuff holds no, like, there's no value placed on it by children. There's no, like, good or bad placed on it. They're not just, they're like, oh, thank you for that information.
And you're so young. I mean, going back to Russia real quick.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of PDA regardless. So if we're going to put that law down, let's put it on everybody.
That's an interesting point.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like kids are over-sexualized anyway. So to have that just geared to one thing, like for me, I get worried about turning on the TV because I don't know if somebody gonna have their butt cheeks out, Miley Cyrus, or if, you know, somebody gonna be grinding that thing up against you, Robin. But with that being said, I have more of a fear of that, of just over-sexualizing a child. It's not so much about, oh, I don't want him to know this group of people or that group of people. I don't want my son having to even be thinking about that at such a young age. Like, I don't... to be even considering sexuality when he can't even spell his name.
Yeah. I mean, we go to West Hollywood and we go to the park all the time, and it's filled with same-sex couples and their children holding hands, and I love that. I don't want to see any kind of couples getting it on at the park, but I don't think that is, I mean, it's just so insulting that there needs to be a law that says that's somehow worse.
Oh, it makes me sick.
Yeah.
Actually, what's kind of funny, of course, this happened in West Hollywood. They were dumping out all the Russian vodka like in the streets in protest. There's all these news clips. I know, it was really funny when I saw it.
And then didn't the Daily Show, or I think it was the Daily Show, they said they did like a drunken sewer alligators.
Right. Drunk from all the you set up the joke and you didn't get the. She's like, I don't understand what you.
It was really
you had to be there. Alligator? Is that a new cocktail that I like missed out on?
Drinking all that.
Yeah.
I love it.
That is an intense topic. Now we get to chat with you guys. So I believe we have some tweets that are coming in that are not really live, but we're gonna pretend anyway because we want to connect with you guys. Oh goody, Ashley J. My parents are really homophobic and I have gay friends. How can I get them to change their minds? Hashtag TMB Live.
How does your parents know they're gay, first of all? I mean, I don't introduce my gay friends as mama. This is my gay friend, Johnny.
That's a good point. It should just be like, this is my friend.
Right. And then if they get to know them as a person, then you can slap them with it. And guess what?
I would also say that depends really on how old you are, because at a certain point, you don't need to worry about getting your parents to like your friends. Your friends are just your friends, you know?
True. That's a tough one though, because I think you usually like overall want the approval of your parents. I mean, maybe there's a certain phase in your life where you actually want the opposite. You just want to do everything that your parents don't want you to do, but I think that's really hard. And yeah, I think you should just know that if your parents are so against gays, there's going to come a time when you move out of the house and you get to do whatever you want. Usually that's around 18. So just stick it out and then get on out of there.
Yeah. I'm sure that's hard though, like having a friend that you care about and knowing that your parents can't feel the same way. I'm sure that's hard, especially if you're a teenager.
Right.
I think it's hard growing up too to just find out that, you know, to make that transition from like really idolizing your parents to disagreeing with them about things. But I think that it's important for teenagers to know that you and your parents can respectfully disagree about things. Like, so, you know, if you can't change their minds, that's a very hard thing probably to change someone's mind about, you can just respectfully disagree with them and still love them.
Well, I think most people who are like honestly homophobic, not that they have some moral disagreement with being homosexual, but actually are like, they don't like gay people, really don't know why. That's the reason why I'm saying, how do they even know what your, like, there are people who I know are homophobic that I have brought around gay people, and they have no idea that they're around gay people, and they are having a blast, honey. They are living it up. So that's the reason why I'm like, do your parents even know that they're gay to begin with?
I think men are always like, oh, I don't want them to hit on me. You know, and I'm like,
you ain't that fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm like.
I have to say, I don't know I don't really know any men like that. I know straight men and gay men, and they're all friends. It was different, I think, like 20 years ago when I was in high school. They were much more afraid that, you know. But like my husband, I mean,
hopefully not gay. I don't think he's gay, right?
That's the last thing.
But he
I
has
need
like
to find
really
out.
close friends that are gay, and they hang out together, and you know what I mean. He's not like worried that that gayness is somehow going to rub off, or that it's a bad thing. Even like it just doesn't. I mean, we talked about what if if we had a child that was gay, we're like, that's fine. Who cares? You know what I mean?
A kid is a kid.
I think
it depends on where you grew up. I grew up in the Bay Area, right near San Francisco. So of course it was just like never even an issue. You know, I went to school with every single color of the rainbow, but I mean, you grew up in a small town in Utah, so maybe you have more experience with homophobia. Do you have any?
You know, not that I know of. Like all of my relatives, everyone I know. In fact, I was just talking to my grandma while we were home, and we had the conversation about gay marriage, and she said, you know what, I'm fine with gay marriage. I don't want to see them making out in public, but as long as they, you know, I don't want to know what's going on in the bedroom. But other than that, if they love each other, I don't care. And I was like, Grandma, I look up to you so much, and you know, it was just such a beautiful thing for me to hear my grandma say.
that is beautiful.
So yeah, I didn't know anyone who was homophobic.
Oh, I did. Girl, yes. I'm from Kentucky, so honey, she's scared of everything, honey. You're too dark. Oh, Jesus, you're going to kill me in the middle of the night. You're gay, you're going to try to take me in the night as well. But again, I know they don't know why they're homophobic. They really don't, and that's really where it stems from.
And I think if you're from a place like, again, I'm from Los Angeles, you know, I've always known and have gay family members, so I always grew up around it. But if you're from a place where you haven't really met a lot of gay people, there was a period of time on television where, you know, what you would be exposed to was really flamboyant type of gayness, which is like, you know, I have like gay friends that are like, all I want to do is football and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, and I think that they have an idea that there's this sort of like flamboyance and that's going to be like rub off on you if you're near it, or you know, that it's an affectation that people don't enjoy. But then they associate that with being gay, which being gay, you can be anything. You can be any type of person. You don't have to be flamboyant.
I don't even think they think it's going to rub off. I don't think they know why. They don't agree with it, and so in that they put all these other feelings on it. So it's just like, you don't even know why you're upset right now, do you? Bless your heart. You've been around one gay person your whole life.
Right.
You don't, and so it's the ignorance of never being around or not even knowing that they're around it to realize, oh, okay, nothing crazy, nothing popped off, nothing crazy happened.
There was a little town in Kentucky, I think. Yeah, and they had their first gay mayor.
Oh, do they?
I think so. It was on the news.
He'll stay alive.
And I know. And it was the town. I think
people from Kentucky
pretty sure it was
some credit.
Kentucky. It might have been Tennessee, but I'm pretty sure it was Kentucky. And the town had like 300 people. And when you know, at first glance, you're like, oh, this is a hick town in Kentucky in like the Appalachian Mountains. And everybody was so sweet and open-minded. And I was like, oh, I love that. People are people regardless of their gender. That's what I think. That's how I was brought up.
And regardless of where they live, you can be open-minded in Appalachia.
That's true. I know.
You can be open-minded in California.
Absolutely.
You know?
And you can be
maybe not in Russia though, I guess.
No, I know what is going on.
Russia.
Okay, we have another question. Nina El Kao. I hope I said that right. El Kao. Cool name. What is your opinion of the similarities between racial segregation back then and what gay rights are going through right now?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
We'll start. Because I do not, there are a lot of people who are like, it's the same. I don't agree. And that's because my blackness is announced as soon as I enter a room without me opening my mouth. Where someone who is gay, all of you ladies could be gay or in same-sex marriages or whatever, and I would not know unless you told me. So in that instance, I feel like it's not the same. Inequality or injustice, yes, that's the same if you're not being treated the same. But like I said, when I walk into the room, there's no way I can hide or disguise my black. You're going to see me, and if you don't like me because I'm black, well, you didn't already made your mind up about that. Where if you are someone who's gay, you can have a conversation with someone, never even touch that topic, and that person get to know you as a person first. So in that sense, I hate when people say it's the same because I'm like,
well, nothing could ever be the same if they have two completely different histories of oppression and everything. You know. But I will say, I think one thing that I think is going to be similar is, you know how when you see one of those old-timey photographs of like an angry mob holding signs saying like intermarriage is right, and you're just like, oh God, you guys look like just crazy. They look like Nazis or something. You know, it looks so terrible. I think people that are protesting gay marriage are going to look as ridiculous to us, and to know that, you know, your senator voted against it, or that, you know, that you, I think people one day will be ashamed that they, you know, voted to, you know, keep the Defense of Marriage Act in California. I just think that people are, it's going to have a shame associated with that behavior, with those choices, because I think it's going to be in a very near future, and the statistics are already showing how quickly people are changing their minds. It's going to be widely accepted and considered like a basic human right that every gay person should be able to get married.
As it should be. I love my gay lover boots. Okay, well, you guys, that was it for the questions. That was it for our show. It was intense. It went by fast.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you guys for sharing your honesty and your opinion. We can all fan ourselves off soon. So that is all, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your tweets. We love to connect with you guys, and we will hopefully be here next Thursday at 2, but if not, Friday at 10. Hopefully.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. You're welcome. Hope to see you again soon. Woo. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, everybody is back officially. Kaylee, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? My heart is broken. This year has been the hardest year because Gage is in all-day kindergarten. So I have no kids at home. Like, no kids at home.
You need
I don't know what to do
baby
with
soon.
myself.
Yeah.
That's so funny because I know some parents that would be like, yes!
I know, I'm just not one of those. I just like need my kids there.